Alright. That's in there for the next 15 minutes to wash. Now I am gonna go outside, make sure there's no trash for my husband. Yes, there is. Yep. And there was trash. He left a cigarette thing outside, apparently. Okay. We'll put it there so he knows about it. Calm down. Onyx is opening the bag for me, okay? I guess we'll see what it is. We don't need him hurting himself. Okay, hang on. Come on, let me see. Scooch. Onyx, hang on. He's already got it partly open. There's a note. Oh. Yeah. I know, sweet. Calm down. Got some catnip toys in there. Toys for each of the kitties from Cat Whisperer. Thank you. And then, look, your favorite. I am so glad that you helped with that cat food as well, because they have been eating it up and I was just about to buy more, but he did not get paid from medical leave yet or from work yet. So thank you. So I'm going to open these toys with him because he's... Come here, your face. You got to pick a color. There's blue, yellow, and green in here. I already know which one he's probably going to pick, but... Thank you. Oh, I dropped that. 1 second. Let me get you guys on this little stand. It's not on charge or anything. Where's the open? Come on. I know there's an open in here somewhere. Hey, you guys. There has got to be an open on it. I'm just gonna... Oh, there we go. It was sideways. I was looking in the wrong area. Come here, girl. Onyx, Sugar, and Gypsy. Come and pick. Which one? Yellow? Is that the one you want? Okay. Sugar, which one do you want? Green? Gypsy! Gypsy, this is for you. You can't have a box. Gypsy, there you go. Alright. Gypsy has the blue one, Sugar has the green one, and Onyx has the yellow one, and they're all behaving. Thank you for that. That is a life. I didn't even know they made these. These are lifesavers, and these are perfect because Onyx likes to grab and kick on stuff with his back legs. This is perfect for them. They're really enjoying their toys, all three of them. Sugar's actually not fighting anyone. She has anxiety. They really like those. Oh my days, thank you to whoever got that. Thank you. Does he have my key? Did he take my key to work? No, my keys are here. Alright, let's go back and get the laundry sorted. And see if anything's dry. And check how long we got on. I think we got about 6 minutes. 7 minutes. 8, 9, I don't know. I'm not sure. We're gonna check it real quick. It doesn't really take as long as the other ones. So we're just gonna drain all that dirty water out. And get ready to put rinse water in. Sometimes, like right now, I like to put rinse water in while it's draining out. Just to make sure all that dirty water just drains out. Alright. We'll put it back to normal, turn it on so it starts moving around. To rinse while we are filling it up. Still hoping that I can get help with my medicine. It's someone could help. I just need $11. That's all I need to be able to get my medicine. Alright, what else? I guess I can check. See if Nick is dry. The blanket is dry. So we put it on top. Dry pants. Dry jeans. Those are still so a pot with cool water. So they do come in here when I'm in the bathroom. Door stays closed for the majority of the day. And definitely when we're sleeping, it stays closed. But when I'm not sleeping and I'm using the restroom, or my husband's using the restroom, the cats do like to come in the bathroom. And they will drink out of that pot in there if I have it filled with cold water. So that's why. I guess I'll grab this Gatorade Zero for now. You guys having fun with the toys? Just get some water. Got me slipping. Next time I overfill the water, but I think it'll be okay. Next. Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Turn that on. Laptop. I had another Amazon package today. You missed it. I opened it. Did she leave? I thought she was gonna say hello and then leave. And they still have cat food, so I don't have to worry about that until it's empty. Baby, there should be a toy down there for you. Lilith. Lilith! No. Sugar. Here, babe. Here. No need to fight over the toys. There's 3 of them. The laptop did not get charged last night. We'll do the coping songs. I did not grab a water for myself before I got my coffee here. And I have a ton of water. Hang on. Alright, get her water. Move! Move! You can't get on the laptop. You guys enjoying your toys? Mom's gonna make coffee. Which is what I am in the process of doing. Into my eyes. Oh, there's no. Okay. What the fuck is wrong with this? Ah, that's why. Now we're gonna let that coffee sit in that bottle to make coffee. They look like tea bags, but they're like Folgers. So they're coffee. But we're gonna start on the Bill of Rights today.
In this lesson, you will learn how to understand rights that are protected by the Bill of Rights. Understand why the Founding Fathers felt these rights were important to protect. Cite evidence as to how rights not mentioned in the Bill of Rights are delegated among the federal government, the states, and individuals.
Okay.
What is the Bill of Rights? How and why was the Bill of Rights added to the Constitution? What rights are protected by the Bill of Rights? What court cases have affected understanding of the Bill of Rights? How are rights protected that are not covered by the Bill of Rights?
Let's talk about what the Bill of Rights is and how and why it was created. The Bill of Rights is composed of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution shortly after its passing and makes up the first 10 amendments.
As part of the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights gained enough support for the new government to form. It was demanded by anti-federalists such as Patrick Henry and George Mason, who felt it was necessary to ensure the protection of the rights of citizens.
Amendments are changes to the Constitution and must occur through a strict process that we will cover in another module. For now, let's look at each of the first 10 amendments and why they are important in protecting the rights of individuals in interactions with the government.
I'm doing okay.
Why do we have a Bill of Rights? In the time leading up to and during the Revolutionary War, Americans in the 13 colonies had many of their rights violated. British soldiers lived in their homes without permission or fair compensation. People were arrested and held without trial. People were tortured, and firearms were confiscated.
When it came time to decide if the Constitution was right for the United States, many were afraid that the document would not protect their rights. They feared that if the United States government got too powerful, they might again face the tyranny that they had started a revolution over. They also feared losing rights, such as practicing religion as they saw fit, which was the reason many of their families had come to America in the first place.
How are you doing?
The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. These amendments were proposed by James Madison as a way to gain consensus for the adoption of the new Constitution.
The main purpose behind the Bill of Rights is to state key civil rights and liberties guaranteed to all Americans and to ensure that a powerful central government cannot infringe on the rights of the individual. Madison believed that specifically stating these rights as amendments to the Constitution would put to rest the concerns of those who opposed the Constitution in its original form. Oh, I'm sorry.
Think of all the paperwork that surrounds you. That receipt from the grocery store, or anything you've written down. These are the documents a historian would look at if they wanted to learn about your life. These are primary source documents. Primary source documents are originals, either a written artifact, like a store ledger or a newspaper editorial. They could also be first-hand accounts, like a diary entry or a journal. Primary source documents, like all texts, have central ideas. This describes what they are mostly about. We're going to look at some primary source documents and determine their central ideas. This text is about Abraham Lincoln's address in 1832. Now, Abraham Lincoln gave this speech, so we could use this to learn about Abraham Lincoln, or we could use this to learn about life in the 1830s. Lincoln tells us the subject of this address: the practice of loaning money at exorbitant rates. And he has an opinion. He says this system is never going to end unless there is a law made fixing the limits of usury. Usury is an example of antiquated language, words that were likely more commonly used in one time period than they are now. Think of other words that you might categorize as outdated or old-fashioned, maybe something like groovy. You can usually figure out the meanings of these words from context, and this example is no different. Lincoln is talking about money lending at exploitative rates, so we know that that's what usury means. Lincoln summarizes his position by saying, I would favor the passage of a law on this subject. So our central idea is that, well, pass laws to restrict this subject, high interest loans. That's Lincoln's point of view. Our next primary source document is a historical document. It's the Constitution of the United States of America.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
If you haven't already seen the 1997 blockbuster Titanic, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it sinks. Here, the witness says that the music did not quell much panic. We know that this is a first-hand account because the author describes this as a heartbreaking sight to us, meaning that the author was there. This is a first-hand account. Look at the language the author uses. It settled slowly, steadily. It didn't plunge or rock, it just disappeared. We see that the sea was calm, there was no shrieking or hysteria. So, in fact, we could describe the central idea here as one saying, well, the sinking of the Titanic, while tragic, from a distance, it didn't appear chaotic. We know this because there was a first-hand witness to write it down and describe it. You should now understand how to identify primary source documents and identify their central ideas.
Select the statements that explain why the Bill of Rights was created.
You chose B, C, D, but the correct answers are A, C, D. The British violated many rights of the colonists in the years before and during the Revolutionary War. The founders wanted to prevent the... Okay, so I just... Instead of clicking B, should have clicked A. Okay. I see.
We have discussed the reasons for and the creation of the Bill of Rights. Now let's look at the individual amendments that make up the document. One note, while some of the amendments are straightforward, others cover multiple rights. If you need to review during this lesson, remember that you can return to previous slides as needed. As we move through the amendments, there will be activities to help you practice skills needed to be successful. The First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Freedom of speech. In the United States, we have the freedom to say or write whatever we want without the government preventing us from doing so. The only exceptions are when that speech would endanger others, such as yelling fire in a crowded theater, or in cases of slander and libel. Slander is causing harm by speaking things about a person or organization that are not true. Libel is the same concept, except it applies to publications instead of speech. Freedom of speech is critical because in some parts of the world, speaking out against the government can lead to a person being arrested or even killed. When a government official or agency is doing something wrong, it is important that citizens are able to speak out against it without the fear of losing their freedom or their life in the process. What type of speech is not protected by the First Amendment?
Oh. Okay. I got it wrong.
Freedom of the press. Another important freedom guaranteed in the First Amendment is the protection of the press. In a free society, the media must be able to examine and report on issues that may be unpopular with government officials. In some parts of the world, just as with individuals, journalists may face imprisonment or even death if they say or write things that are critical of the government in newspapers, on the radio, on television, or on the internet. In the United States, the media is so critical that it is sometimes referred to as the fourth branch of government. In other words, it acts as part of the checks and balances system to ensure that government officials and agencies are doing their jobs well. Voters know about the candidates for public office, and the public knows about the things that are going on locally in their state, their country, and the world.
Freedom of religion. When the United States was founded, many of its citizens had come from England and other places that had official state religions. This meant that everyone had to be a member of the religion and follow its tenets or face punishments, such as imprisonment or death. Do you see a theme developing? The First Amendment states that the federal government may not establish an official religion for the country, and that it may not do anything to interfere with individuals practicing religion as they see fit. In other words, citizens in the United States are free to follow whatever God or practice whatever religion they choose to, without fear of persecution or trouble from the government. They are free to do this as long as those religious practices do not harm or otherwise negatively affect the rights of others.
Assembling peacefully. In the United States, we have the right to assemble peacefully. This means that we can have demonstrations, rallies, protests, group meetings, and other events where large groups of people come together to express their opinions or have discussions. While permits or other regulations may be enforced for public safety, these gatherings may happen as long as they do not lead to violent actions, such as riots or looting. In contrast to rights guaranteed to U.S. citizens, rights of people in some other countries are not guaranteed, and groups or protests critical of those governments can lead to arrests, fines, or other punishments. Choose the scenarios that are protected by the First Amendment. Select all that apply.
I had them all correct except it wasn't E. So I chose A, D, E, C, but the correct answers were A, C, and D. Damn it. Okay. Well, I got it correct. I just added E, which apparently wasn't. So John does not have the right to not be offended by the speech of others in public. Got it.
The Second Amendment states that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right to bear arms. The Second Amendment ensures the right of citizens to own firearms, as well as the right of the states to form militias. Currently, the state militias are known as the National Guard. While the right to own firearms is protected, Local, state, and federal government can pass laws and regulations to control their use. For instance, requiring a background check before a firearm can be purchased, or designating certain areas, such as schools, as gun-free zones.
The Third Amendment. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Quartering of troops. In the time leading up to and during the Revolutionary War, one way that the British punished colonists was by forcing them to allow soldiers to stay in their homes, known as being quartered. These homeowners had to give up space, food, and other resources without fair compensation. This amendment makes sure that the government of the United States cannot do anything similar, even in times of war.
Why was the Third Amendment added to the Constitution?
I got it. Got that one correct.
The Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Says, note, the meaning of seizures in this amendment is the action of confiscating or taking of personal property thought to be evidence found in a connection to a crime. Okay.
Searching of private property. In the United States, law enforcement and other agencies of the government cannot search the private property of individuals without proving first that they have a good reason for the search. Unless there is an immediate threat, such as a crime clearly being committed, officers have to get permission from a judge before doing their search. Search warrants. When agents of the government search an individual or their private property, in most cases, they are required to have a search warrant. A search warrant is a document issued by a magistrate or judge. It states that an officer has shown probable cause exists, that the search will lead to evidence of a crime. It also usually limits what can be searched and what is being looked for. Now use what you have learned, as well as your own reasoning skills, to answer this question.
I got it. It was
The Fifth Amendment states that no person shall be held to answer.
Now use what...
No.
Search warrants.
No.
When agents of the government search an individual or their private
I
property...
did that one. Oh my god.
Now use what you have learned, as well as your own reasoning skills, to answer this question.
The Fifth Amendment states that no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces, or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Without just compensation.
Self-incrimination. The Fifth Amendment prevents a person accused of a crime from being forced to incriminate him or herself. In other words, the police or any other government agency can only take a confession if it is voluntarily given. The same goes for court proceedings. If a lawyer asks a person who has sworn to tell the truth to give information that might convict them of a crime, they can use or plead the Fifth Amendment to remain silent and not answer the question. Eminent domain. Sometimes it is necessary for the government to take the private property of a citizen for the public good, such as building new roads or hospitals. When this happens, the Fifth Amendment states that the landowner must be paid a fair value for their property.
Select the rights that are protected by the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, and then click on Confirm.
It was A. I didn't click A. I chose B, D, and F, but the correct answers are A, B, D, F, so there was 4 this time. I thought it was A, but I didn't want to not be incorrect by it.
Read the following excerpt from an article on perceived violations of the Bill of Rights. In the drop-down menu, select the amendment that would apply to the excerpt.
Okay. At 10:45 a.m., Defendant Officer Christopher Worley from HPD contacted plaintiff Anthony Mitchell via his telephone. Worley told the plaintiff that the police needed to occupy his home to gain a tactical advantage against the occupant of the neighboring house. Anthony Mitchell told the officer that he did not want to become involved and that he did not want police to enter his residence. Although Worley continued to insist that the plaintiff should leave his residence, the plaintiff clearly explained that he did not intend to leave his home or to allow police to occupy his home. Worley then ended the phone call. Ooh. Well, it's not going to be the first one. It's not going to be the second. Would it be third, protection against the forced quartering of troops? Yes. Sorry.
The Sixth Amendment means that, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with a witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
The Sixth Amendment protects citizens when they are the defendant in a trial. First, they must have a speedy and public trial, meaning that the trial must commence and take place as quickly as possible and cannot be held in secret. This protects citizens from a situation where the government might delay a trial for political or other reasons. Second, the trial must be held publicly so that concerned citizens can act as watchdogs to ensure the trial was conducted fairly and according to the law.
Third, the accused is guaranteed an impartial jury from the state and district where the crime was committed. This is so that the people making the decision on guilt or innocence can relate to the accused and aren't going into the trial with a biased opinion. Fourth, the accused must be told what they are being charged with, be allowed to confront the witnesses that are speaking against them, and be able to compel defense witnesses to show up and testify at the trial. Finally, the Sixth Amendment ensures that when a person is charged with a crime and must go through a trial, that they will have access to a lawyer to help them with their defense.
Court cases that shaped our understanding of the Sixth Amendment. Gideon versus Wainwright. In 1961, Clarence Earl Gideon was convicted of robbing a pool hall in Florida because he could not afford a lawyer to represent him. Lawyers were not guaranteed for defendants in state trials. The Supreme Court ruled that states must follow the Sixth Amendment and provide lawyers to those that cannot afford them. Gideon was given a retrial and found not guilty with the help of his state-appointed attorney. Which of the following is not a right covered by the Sixth Amendment?
I got it wrong. Oh well.
Alex was approached by police after a nearby convenience store reported merchandise had been stolen. While talking with him, the officer noticed a DVD case sticking out of Alex's jeans, which happened to be one of the items reported stolen. Alex was placed under arrest, and after being read his Miranda rights, he confessed to the theft. Afterward, he tried to recant his confession and have it removed as evidence. Click on the amendment you think Alex could use. Then click yes if you think his argument would be successful, or no if you think it would not. Check your answers by clicking on confirm.
Definitely the Fourth Amendment and possibly the Fifth. Incorrect. You chose B and C, yes, but the correct answers are Fifth Amendment and no. Alex could argue that under the Fifth Amendment, he has the right to not incriminate himself. However, he was warned by the officer that any statement he made would be used against him in a trial, while one cannot be forced to incriminate him or herself. If done so willingly, the protection is forfeited.
The Seventh Amendment. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Jury trials for civil trials and prevention of double jeopardy. This amendment ensures that civil trials, those not involving a crime, can utilize juries. A very important additional guarantee in this amendment involves double jeopardy. If you are charged with a crime and found innocent, you cannot be retried for that same crime. This prevents an overzealous prosecutor
The Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. This amendment protects individuals from methods that could be used by the government to keep individuals in prison or to punish them in inhumane ways, such as torture. Bail is money that people put up when they are charged with a crime to ensure that they will show up to their trial. If they do not put up the money, they stay in jail until their trial. Excessive bond would take away their freedom unnecessarily. as our justice system considers everyone innocent until proven guilty in a trial.
The Ninth Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
Rights not protected by the Bill of Rights. The Ninth Amendment acknowledges that there are rights guaranteed to individuals that are not covered in the Bill of Rights. The writers realized that they could not possibly list every right and wanted to make sure that the Bill of Rights did not end up restricting the rights of individuals instead of protecting them. The Ninth Amendment guarantees that any rights not mentioned in the Constitution are still retained by the citizens of the United States. The 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people.
The rights of the states. This amendment states that any rights not governed by the federal government would be the responsibility of individual state governments and the people. The amendment was put in place to keep the functions of the federal government limited and focused. Its purpose was to ensure that citizens' rights were not limited only to those found in the Bill of Rights. Political cartoons are an important way that newspapers
What's up, everyone? Let's learn a new tune and analyze information presented in a political cartoon. Remember that a political cartoon will have a very specific message or intention. We often have to interpret that message by looking at combining all of the different elements in the image itself. Let's do that together. Let's take a look at this political cartoon. First, let's analyze the posture of the police officer. Well, clearly the police officer is holding some people back while encouraging other people to come vote. Well, who are the men on the right that are being encouraged to vote? Well, they're kind of wearing old school prison garb, so we could assume that they are prisoners. Who are the women on the left? Well, the women on the left, we have a protective mother and someone who's in graduation robes, so clearly an educated woman. Now, if we combine all of these images together, what could we suss out here as the point of view of the cartoonist? Well, clearly the cartoonist is critiquing a society that would allow prisoners to vote, but not women. Right, now you know how to analyze political cartoons. Go practice.
use the drop-down menu to choose the amendment that the political cartoon best represents.
Yeah, I got it.
Use the drop-down menu to choose the amendment that the political cartoon best represents.
Got that correct.
Use the drop-down menu to choose the amendment that the political cartoon best represents.
Yes.
Use the drop-down menu to choose the amendment that the political cartoon best represents.
Okay. So for everyone
Use the
listening, right?
drop-down menu to identify the amendment that best represents each situation.
That is going to be the Miranda rights, which I'm going to say this one. Okay. I got that one wrong, but it's fine.
What if there are questions? As with all written documents, there are sometimes questions as to how they should be interpreted. In the case of the Bill of Rights, the Supreme Court of the United States has the final say if there is a question. For this reason, individuals and groups request that the Supreme Court hear and make decisions on various legal cases, laws, or regulations when they believe that rights given in the Constitution have been violated.
Earlier in the lesson, the Bill of Rights and U.S. Constitution were identified as primary sources. Primary sources are first-hand accounts of a historical event. Secondary sources are second-hand accounts that address or analyze events, people, works, or topics.
When you hear something secondhand, you're receiving information from someone who wasn't personally there. That's similar to a secondary source. Secondary sources are written by individuals who weren't involved or witnessed the events that they are writing about. Secondary sources, like all texts, have a central idea. Let's take a look at some secondary texts and identify their central ideas. Our first text is a biography, The Early Life of Abraham Lincoln by Ida Tarbell. Now, she did not personally know Abraham Lincoln, but she is writing about his life. In this excerpt, we see that he announced himself as a candidate, and then throughout his candidacy, distinguished himself with his candor, his ability, and his audacity. The central idea of this text, therefore, is that, well, Lincoln's personality aided him in his pursuit of a political career. In our next text, we have an analysis of the Constitution of the United States by James Beck. Now, James Beck was not involved in the drafting of the Constitution, but he is analyzing the motivations of those who were. He says it's fortunate that they had learned a lesson following the War of Independence. In fact, other turmoil of the time, the hysteria following the French Revolution, was also not present in that document. Instead, the Constitution only deals with the practical and essential details of government. The central idea of this secondary source, therefore, is that the framers of the Constitution focused on practical aspects of government in response to these earlier tumultuous events. In our final text, we have a paragraph from The Unsinkable Titanic by James Bernard Walker. Now, as you may suspect at this point, he was not on the Titanic himself, nor did he witness it sinking. But he is describing what those passengers felt like. He says their reluctance to leave the Titanic was justified.
Sleepy.
And
I've been
this
up
is his
since
point
like
of view.
7
The
or a
belief
little
that
bit
the ship
before.
would survive was natural. And it was natural because another ship had been struck in a collision and it didn't sink. So he's saying it's reasonable for those passengers to think that the Titanic, twice the size of the Republic, was just as good as a lifeboat. What's our central idea here? Well, that it's reasonable for the passengers to have stayed on the Titanic rather than rush to the lifeboats. You should now understand how to identify secondary sources and determine their central ideas.
Which of the following statements best describe the central idea of the paragraph?
Okay, so during the debates on the adoption of the Constitution, its opponents repeatedly charged that the Constitution as drafted would open the way to tyranny by the central government. Fresh in their minds was the memory of the British violation of civil rights before and during the Revolution. They demanded a Bill of Rights that would spell out the legal rights of individual citizens. In response, the first Congress of the United States passed 10 amendments to the Constitution that became known as the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights defined and guaranteed the legal rights of U.S. citizens. Oh, the answer was D. Damn. Okay. Well, it was worded
Important
weird.
things to remember. The Bill of Rights makes up the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution. The Bill of Rights sets limitations for the government so that it cannot violate our basic rights and freedoms. The Bill of Rights sets protections for individuals that are detained by law enforcement, indicted for a crime, or put on trial for a crime. The Bill of Rights does not protect all of the rights of individuals and state governments. The Ninth Amendment recognizes that these other rights exist. Privileges are not rights and can be restricted or taken away. Congratulations, you have completed this lesson.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna go to the bathroom and check on that shirt. I may see if there's anything else that needs to be washed while I'm in there. So I'm going to take a short little break before I start my third lesson. There's 12 lessons in total. I've done 2 lessons. So I have 10 more lessons to do. So far, I got a 2 out of 15 satisfactory. The next one is going to be government types and their contributing principles, which we'll do in a second after I get back from the bathroom. We'll just let that charge for a little bit and okay, right here. There we go. Okay, this is trash, so I'll take it with me. We'll play some music in the meantime. Okay. All right. Stop. What are you clicking on my phone? Alright. Good morning. How are you? Hanging in there, doing okay. I hope you have a good day at work. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's for my seizure meds. Okay. I do have PayPal. Let me comment the... Let me know if you see the email for the PayPal. I gotta get laundry detergent. I'm out of laundry detergent, so I'm using shampoo. Oh. Oh, thank you, MCJ. Yeah, that's the you're good. Let me just let my pharmacy know. Alright, I just texted my pharmacy. But yeah, for future reference, there should be a video somewhere that has my Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal on it. Somewhere. Ooh, watch my phone. But thank you. Let's drain this shirt. Scooch. Bring it down. I need this side so I can spin that out. Can you not break my deodorant? That'd be great. Okay, I have a white towel I'm putting in. It needs to be washed. We're going to put a bit of Dawn. Then we're going to do shampoo. And bleach. To bleach it, because it's white. Get this water going. Alright. I'm gonna check the shirt. It is dried up enough, not dripping. I can hang it up to dry the rest of the way. There we go. We're gonna drain this. It's just the one item, so it doesn't take long to do. Now we're rinsing this. So it shouldn't take long, and I'll put it in the dryer. Alright. Then we're going to spin it out. my pharmacy opens up at like 9 or 10, and they'll take the money out then. Hey! Enough! Gypsy, or Sugar, thank you. Gypsy, what is wrong with you? Onyx, are you okay? Breaking up that fight. Good morning, Katie. How are you? You're probably here in the dryer. My spinner. About a minute or so, according to the timer. There we go. It's done. Now I can hang it up so it dries. Oh, it's still got quite a bit of water in it though. Why did it not? What the fuck is wrong with this thing? So there's quite a bit of water in it, but it's spinning, so I don't know. I'll hang it up anyway, fuck it.
text response I create anytime someone calls, leaves a voicemail, or texts. Plans start at just $15 a month. No break. Money is on the line.
Is everybody okay in here?
With Quo. Try Quo for free at quo.com/Spotify. That's QUO.com/Spotify. Summer can feel like a sprint. Kids home, trips to plan, routines flipped upside down.
Sure, move.
It's easy to slip into survival mode. Just
Lilith,
trying to
move.
get through it. Then suddenly, it's over, and you're wishing you enjoyed the days just a little bit more. Therapy can help you slow down and actually be present for the moments that matter. With BetterHelp, you can connect with a licensed therapist from anywhere on your schedule. Don't just survive this summer, thrive. Visit BetterHelp.com/Spotify Music.
Turn the air on for a little bit. Laptop back out. And we'll start on our next lesson.
In this lesson, you will learn how to compare types of governments, define and compare types of democracies, explain the elements of constitutionalism, explain the interrelationship between majority rule and minority rights, and define popular sovereignty, rule of law, and federalism.
Now we will look at these questions. What are the different types of governments? What are the differences between them? How have past governments influenced the creation of the United States government? What are the strengths and weaknesses of a democracy? What type of government does the United States have? Let's look at some that have appeared throughout history.
It says over time, many different types of governments have been created. With different degrees of success, governments are formed to provide parameters and rules for citizens, to protect citizens, and provide citizens' well-being and happiness.
The first is a monarchy. A monarchy is a government where most, if not all, power rests with a monarch, such as a king or queen. Government power passes from parent to child, or otherwise stays within a family. While an effective ruler might protect the rights of the people, an abusive one might take rights away. For this reason, many monarchies have
Can't have you
legislatures
in
that
the
limit
basket.
the power of a king.
Oh. Out. Out of the basket. Come
One of
on.
the first times a king's power was limited occurred in England in the year 1215.
Bro.
A group of powerful
Out.
nobles
Get out the
forced
ball.
the king to sign
No.
the Magna Carta, a document that limited the power of the king. On the next screen, you will read a portion of the Magna Carta
You can't be
and
in
use
there.
it to answer questions.
Here's a portion of the Clause 20 of the Magna Carta. For a trivial offense, a free man shall be fined only in proportion to the degree of his offense, and for a serious offense correspondingly, but not so heavily as in future, no official shall place a man on trial upon his own unsupported statement without producing credible witnesses to the truth of it. Now use what you have learned as well as your own reasoning skills to answer this question.
Some nations have been ruled by a form of government known as constitutional monarchy. While a king or queen is a single sovereign ruler of the country, his or her power is limited by a constitution, a formal document outlining which of the monarch's decisions are subject to review or may be overruled by a court of law. Which of the following was most likely a constitutional monarchy? That one. Yep.
Choose the best answer to the following question.
Clause 38 of the Magna Carta, no bailiff is in future to put anyone to law by his accusation alone, without trustworthy witnesses being brought in for this. According to Clause 38 of the Magna Carta, which of the following may not happen? Oh, oops. Oh well.
Now we will look at the rule of law. Rule of law is an important concept in government. It means that the laws created by government must be followed by everyone. Before documents like the Magna Carta, a monarch might make laws that he, himself, did not have to follow.
Why is rule of law important? Here's the answer. Without the concept of rule of law, government leaders could use their power to commit crimes without fear of punishment. Or they could create laws that are unfair to individuals or certain groups of people without having to follow the rule themselves. Now that we have looked at monarchies and how they changed over time, let's discuss another type of government, the republic. The next form of government we will cover is the republic. In a republic, people vote for representatives that then meet in a legislature to govern and create law. Because the representatives are elected, they can be removed in future elections if they do not do an effective job. In this way, the people who vote keep control of their government. A republic is also referred to as a representative democracy. The most famous early republic was formed in ancient Rome. The writings and history of that period had great effect on the creation of the United States government.
Now use what you have learned, as well as your own reasoning skills, to answer this question.
Oh. Hello.
Use the drop-down menus to determine if each statement describes a republic or a monarchy.
Yeah, I got them all correct. Okay.
Choose the best answer to the following question. A plutocracy is a society where power is in the hands of people of great wealth. These few individuals of wealth and power, known as plutocrats, typically use their power to serve their own purposes, to the detriment of the commoners and the poor.
What's up, everyone? I'm excited to be your primary contact as we learn how to identify fact and opinion in primary sources. Remember that primary sources can include both fact, which is something that is established. It is true regardless of how the writer feels, and opinion, which will reveal something about that writer's feelings or that writer's perspective or point of view. Now, we can see all different kinds of opinions. They can appear in a lot of different ways. You could see recommendations, what someone should or ought to do. You could see an explanation, this is why this happened. Maybe an evaluation, either positive or negative value on a topic, or a prediction. This will or will not happen in the future.
Thanks for the likes.
All right, so now that you know some of the different types of opinions that we could see, let's see if we can't differentiate opinions from fact in some examples. All right, in this first example, we're going to focus specifically on the highlighted portion here. Let's see if we can't identify any opinion keyword. If we do, let's label it as opinion. If not, we'll say this is purely fact. Well, notice that we have this key phrase ought to. Just like should, ought to indicates a recommendation. A recommendation is one type of opinion we could encounter in a passage. All right, let's look at another example. Again, let's focus on the highlighted portion. If we're looking for keywords here, we get two time frame keywords, right? Two sequencing keywords, previously to and prior to. This establishes a sequence of events, but there is no opinion keyword or phrase present here, which means this is simply fact. All right, now if we're looking at the last example here, we sort of get two separate sentences to evaluate. In each sentence, we should see an opinion keyword or phrase. In the first sentence, I do not think. If it's somebody's beliefs or thoughts, it's an opinion. Now, in the second sentence, we get this defect. In a way, this is both an explanation as to why this happened and also an evaluation. There is certainly some negative value ascribed here to the you in your conduct. This, of course, we would label as opinion. Nice job recognizing fact and opinion in primary sources. Now you know what to do. Go practice.
Choose the best answer to the following question.
You should be aware of how the United States system of democracy was developed over the years. The concept for democracy actually comes from much further back in history, from a Greek treatise that describes the concept of ruling by the people or ruling of the people, where the people have a choice in their government. That's distinctly different from many of the governments that we've seen throughout history, though, where monarchies are very prevalent, aristocracies or lordships are also prevalent. democratic government. So there's more rule of the people. Finally, the transition point to the U.S. representative democracy comes as an immediate subsequent action from the parliamentary democracy that the British had. Since the U.S. were rebelling against the British parliament democracy, but they still liked the theory of democracy, they changed it to be a representative democracy in the U.S., where we can elect representative individuals, and that's a rule of the people by representatives chosen from the people.
In a democracy, the people actively participate in the government by voting on laws and other government policies. Let's take a look at the following types of democracies: direct, parliamentary, presidential, and representative.
Why is there no comments? It's not showing comments or nothing.
A direct democracy is a government in which citizens actively participate in all functions of government. In one of the early examples of a direct democracy, the citizens of the city-state of Athens would meet to conduct government business. The word democracy actually comes from the Greek words for common people and strength. An example of a direct democracy in the United States today often occurs at the local level of government, when all the eligible residents of a town meet and make the major decisions for the local governmental official to implement. This is a direct democracy at work. Direct democracies in the form of town meetings are more common in the New England states. The biggest difference between a parliamentary and presidential democracy is the way the heads of state are elected. In a parliamentary democracy, the heads of state, or prime minister, is selected by the parliament. And in a presidential democracy, the head of state, or president, is elected by the people.
In a presidential democracy, an individual is elected by the people to act as both the head of the government and the head of state. One positive result of this type of government is that the president has the power to act quickly in times of crisis. On the negative side, presidential democracies can turn into dictatorships if the president is able to gain enough power to defy the will of the people. To balance the problem, most presidential democracies also have a legislature with its own power to act as a balance. When a nation's citizens elect people to represent them in government, it is called an indirect democracy.
Yeah, I am.
A representative democracy is like a republic, in that people vote for their representatives who participate in the government's legislature rather than voting directly for laws and proposals themselves. The most important characteristic of any democracy is that it is run through popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty is the idea that all power in a country rests in the hands of its people. The people can lend their power to a government for the benefits of safety and protection of rights. But in the end, the power always rests with the people. Popular sovereignty is also an important part of a republic, as citizens who vote for representatives have the power to remove them if they do an inferior job. Choose the best answer to the following question.
Yeah, I got that one right.
Because decisions in a democracy are based on a majority vote, there are issues that can threaten the
Because the basis of power in a democracy is the vote of the people. It is possible for individuals to remain in power by promising to use tax money and other government resources to directly benefit their voters. Although the programs are popular, when politicians support excessive and expensive programs, the national debt continues to increase.
Not much. Government types and their contributing principles is
In
what I'm
any
studying now.
society, there will be majorities and minorities, whether the difference is based on race, gender, economic status, or other demographics. The purpose of a government is to protect the rights of everyone, but this can be a problem when laws are made by the vote of the majority.
Leave him alone. Let him play.
A tyranny of the majority occurs when a minority is discriminated against due to the voting of the majority. For instance, before the Civil Rights Movement, some states in the southern United States created laws that discriminated against African Americans. To protect against the tyranny of the majority, all citizens must be equal under the rule of law.
Click on each answer that is a problem facing democracies.
Yes, I got it all correct.
The United States is a presidential republic in which the power of government is limited by the Constitution. Government leaders, such as the president and members of Congress, are elected by the populations they represent, while other officials and government employees are appointed or hired by government officials.
The creation of the United States government was influenced by
Bro,
several
I
other
really
governments.
want like a Starbucks
Like
coffee.
a democracy,
I can't afford it.
individuals vote as
I
a
have
means of
other things I gotta
expressing
get
their
done.
political power. As a republic, those votes go toward
I
electing
get laundry
officials who
detergent
run the
at some
government.
point.
Like a monarchy, the president acts as the head of state
Probably next
when
week when he
dealing
gets
with other
paid
nations.
from work.
Also, like a monarchy, the president acts as the head of the executive branch to enact laws passed by Congress. Now use what you have learned, as well as your own reasoning skills, to answer this question.
You've just unplugged my laptop, bro. Damn it. I got that wrong.
Now, let's look at the features and functions that characterize the representative democracy of the United States government.
And cannot do. In the United States, the limiting document is the Constitution. The Constitution clearly defines the structure, roles, and limitations of each branch of government, while protecting the natural rights of individuals through the Bill of Rights. Now use what you have learned,
Yeah,
as
my
well
OB
as
is
your own
on
reasoning
Friday.
skills, to answer this question.
In the United States, government power is distributed between the national, state, and local levels. This is known as federalism. Federalism ensures that no one level of government becomes too powerful so that the rights of the people are protected.
Over the history of the United States, government officials have tried at times to push the limits of the powers granted to them by the Constitution. When they go too far and create deplorable laws or regulations, it is the responsibility of the United States Supreme Court to void the legislation by declaring it unconstitutional.
During this video, you'll learn how to identify the author's point of view. By point of view, we just mean the author's opinion. The opinion about the topic, the opinion about the story or the characters in the story. That's the author's point of view. To find it, you want to look for the descriptive words that the author uses. Adjectives and adverbs are key here. If the author says that it was a significant breakthrough, that tells you about the author's perspective. You can break these down at their most basic to positive or negative. If the author uses words with a positive connotation, he or she approves of the subject. If the author uses words with a negative connotation, he or she disapproves of the subject. As you put this into practice on the passages, look for the descriptive words that the author uses to describe the situation or the character. First up, we have Emma. Described in that way. Sometimes you can even express the author's point of view with a symbol. Here, the author is positive. So you can do something as simple as a smiley face to say, this author regards Emma in a positive light. Our next passage also features positive light, but it's different. Here, the emphasis is on Leonardo da Vinci's breakthroughs, on his achievements as a thinker. The author even uses the word remarkable to describe da Vinci's breakthroughs. For Emma, the focus was on her attributes. She was handsome, clever, and rich. For Leonardo, the focus is on the breakthroughs. For that reason, you might write something like Leo is a trailblazer. This author really emphasizes how Leonardo da Vinci changed things moving forward. It was his role as a trailblazer that the author seemed to care most about. Our next passage gives you the opportunity to see some negative connotations. Notice we see here that men labor under a mistake. Further, we see a fool's life. The point of this passage is that men waste their lives. You might even just describe it as wasted lives. This passage is negative in contrast to the first two that we saw. Sometimes the author has an even more specific purpose, an even stronger tone. We see that in the passage here. State it directly, we can infer that Lincoln's goal is the preservation of the nation. Sometimes you have to fill in the gaps using the language that the author has described the situation with. He didn't come out and say, preserve the nation. He just talked about the alternative as something that couldn't be considered, something that would have grave consequences. When you read between the lines to get that meaning, you can see the author's point of view.
Choose the best answer to the following question.
So what I just put in the comments, it's it's not, I don't know if it would describe as a want or a need. I just want to, like, I just would really like to get my overdraft paid off. Of course, you guys, it's up to you. But yeah. We are rather proud of the high standards of medical care we know how to provide in the U.S. The fact is, however, that most of our people cannot afford to pay for the care they need. I have often... Yeah.
In this lesson, we will learn to identify specific words or phrases that show an author's point of view or purpose. An author's point of view is the place in which they are writing from, and they use different types of language to help convey their perspective. Those types of language can include emotional or emphatic metaphors, opinionated descriptions, opinionated adverbs, or emphatic or opinionated verbs. We're going to work through some examples, and in each example, we will identify the author's point of view and the words or phrases that help support it. In example A, we see the use of an opinionated description. And this word helps emphasize the point of view that this fact may be tough for some to accept. We also see the use of an
All right, my medicine just got filled and shipped.
Should we conquer
Thank
the
you,
stars?
guys.
The author is emphasizing that no matter how big and great our accomplishments, if we fail on this important aspect of this issue, then we have failed. This metaphor also reinforces the purpose of the speech itself. In example C, we see the use of an opinionated verb and adverb pair. And this tells us that the community was forced into this warlike frame. The use of an opinionated description in the next sentence reinforces this idea. As we move on through example C, we see the use of an emotional metaphor, and this signals the disgust the author feels for the motivation behind the communist and Nazi people. Altogether, in these examples, we've learned how to identify the author's point of view and words or phrases that support it.
Yes, my medicine has been taken care of. Next step is getting my overdraft paid off. And then getting the $30 that my stepson needs.
In this lesson, we are going to discuss why some things may or may not be included in a historical document. Authors choose their words carefully,
I also gotta
especially
get
when writing
laundry
important
detergent
documents.
and pay off some bills.
And they can decide what words to include or exclude to add emphasis, to show an opinion, to present a contrast, or to introduce an argument. We're going to work through a few examples, and in each example, we are going to discuss why or why not certain words and sections may have been included in the Declaration of Independence. In example A, we see the emphasis on the higher powers were calling the authors to write the Declaration of Independence. And this is important because it emphasizes that declaring independence is the right thing to do. In example B, we see the use of negative adjectives and verbs which reveal the author's opinions. And these are important because they indicate the injustices that the authors feel the king has imposed on the colonists. In these examples, we've discussed why some things may or may not be included in a historical text.
In writing,
Authors use emphatic metaphors and adverbs to emphasize their opinion. An emphatic metaphor is a figure of speech that uses one thing to mean another and makes a comparison between the two. An adverb is a figure of speech that emphasizes, strengthens, or weakens an action or a description.
When authors write historical documents, they use certain words to convey their opinion, facts, and stories. They choose certain words to use and choose which words to include or exclude in their writing. It is important to be able to explain why an author chose to include or exclude.
Let's discuss how to evaluate differing viewpoints. One place you've probably encountered a lot of differing viewpoints and may have felt some frustration about them is on social media, where debate and opinions can run wild. Imagine if the founding fathers had been able to debate online. Let's say there's a new Fed space posting by Publius. He has some exciting things to say in the debate about ratifying or approving the U.S. Constitution. In fact, it looks like John Jay agrees with Publius. Oh, so does James Madison. But just like in any debate, someone eventually offers an opposing viewpoint. We'll return to this debate in a moment, but first, let's learn some evaluation techniques. There are many places where you'll come While it may seem natural to pick a side, it is often a better course of action to step back and ask yourself a series of questions. What do both sides have in common? Where do they differ? What assumptions do both sides make? What would be the implications of choosing one side over the other? Is there anything both sides are overlooking? I'll walk you through an example. Let's go back to our Fed space debate. The Federalists, those who supported ratification of the Constitution, supported their position in a series of essays printed in several newspapers. The Anti-Federalists, those who did not support ratification of the Constitution, also printed essays arguing against the Federalists. Take a moment to read how each side saw the debate. Feel free to pause while you read. Which of the two experts do you think is from the Federalists?
It might not be 32 anymore because they just took out the money for
Because they wanted to keep their identities secret. They wrote under pseudonyms
One
or
second.
pen names.
Yeah, let me
Federated
change it.
republics. It is the same system that the Federalists refer to as the Union. There are inherent assumptions in the language both sides use. Take another look at the passage. Pause again if you need to, and ask yourself, what do both sides have in common?
There we go.
Where do they differ?
Because they took out the money
What
for my
assumptions do
medicine,
both
so
sides make?
that's now.
What would be the implication of choosing one side over the other? Is there anything both sides are overlooking? These passages are similar. While the anti-federalist assumes it will not fail. The implication of choosing a side is that the Constitution either will or will not be ratified.
Finally, both sides overlook other possibilities of a ratification that could address the concerns of both sides. And as you may know, that possibility came to be in the addition of the Bill of Rights to the Constitution.
Key points to remember about the different types of governments. Monarchies place political power, which usually stays within a royal family, in the hands of a king or queen. In a republic, citizens elect representatives gain direct control of the government. Democracies, through the voting of the majority, can discriminate against minorities. The United States is a presidential republic with a federal system that is limited by the Constitution.
Congratulations! You have finished this lesson.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break. I do want to see if I can get into my study account. Never mind. We're gonna look at Twitch real quick. Because I'm about to start streaming over there. Try and get some money in today. Yeah, start work. Okay. Alright. Oh, the chair's in my way. Give me 1 second, guys. I have to fix the chair. Because it's in my way. Excuse me. Excuse me, sweetheart. Can Mama, like, sneak by you? Okay. So she can push this chair out the way. Dad's chair's in the way. Yep. Shug, you okay? Come here. Don't know if Beth is playing any games today. I also need to plug in my charger. I forgot that I needed to do. Because I got unplugged by the kitty. Over here. Ow. Alright. Plugged in. Okay, it's charging. Closing that. And let's see. Game library. Oh. Where is it? There it is. Downloading the mortuary assistant. I seen you were online, so. Because I gotta make some money on Twitch, so. I'm taking a break. I did 2 lessons today so far. I'm gonna take a break, get some streaming in on my Twitch or my Purple app. So that way I have a little bit of income coming in, hopefully. I need to make at least $25 more to cash out on the Purple app. So why can't you play it? It's on PS5. It's taking a bit for it to download, so I'm gonna have to find something else. Cause you're broke. Well, so am I. I guess I'll play like Roblox or something in the meantime. I already had it. I had it a while ago. I got it when Mary told me about it. What the fuck are those emblems? Alright, let's go through and remove some more people I don't know from my Roblox, shall we? Something went wrong, please try again. What the fuck? It's not letting me unfriend people. Hello? Oh no. Okay. Two for an active call. Is fire. Okay. What is the address? What did the customer say or do? Where's the agitated customer now? Okay. Alright, we will send... Retail employee, let's see what about the fire. Alright. We're waiting for a cop to be available so we can send them. Elevator alarm. So answer. Basement flooding. We're waiting for someone. Come on. Answer. Alright, we have some storm damage. We have nobody available for that. Units are responding. Awaiting dispatch. Storm damage. We have a patrol car heading for the storm damage. Say it's a hostage. Waiting just heat exhaustion. We need EMS for this one, but nobody's. Alrighty. Send a party chat. Hello, missing person. Alright, that's gonna be the police that we send. I'm still trying to do the heat exhaustion. I need EMS. Aha. Dispatch. Alright, missing person. We need patrol car. Units responding, units responding, units responding. Okay. A grill fire, really. Okay. Well, they're gonna have to wait because I have my fire on for the missing person, so. I'm not sure if it's multiplayer. No, we don't need medic, we need fire. I was about to start the discount and I forgot. Dispatch that fire to that. Someone fainted, so we will definitely be sending a medic to you. Tree blocking something. Tree blocking road wires nearby. That's going to be a patrol car. That will send. I have a promotion going on for subscriptions on my Weekend VC. I'm gonna hop off here anyway. What does it want me to get? Alright. Okay. Awesome, awesome. We're shutting this down, letting that charge. Oh shit, I have a call. Answer. Car crash. Alright. Let's go, and we are going to send to 2-car crash. We're gonna send in that. Alright. Yeah, send the VC. Okay. I'm gonna probably move up to that chair so I can see better or scoop up. I'm gonna hop off TikTok now. You guys have a